Thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm Vinod Iyengar. I'm the VP of Products at H2O.ai. Been with the company for 7.5 years and had the privilege to work with a lot of our customers, including some of who are in attendance and hopefully some of who are watching online. I have with me two wonderful folks. First, I want to introduce Prince Paulraj. He's the AVP of Engineering, Data Science, and AI at AT&T, and also our co-development partner for the feature store. We'll talk about that in a bit. And then I have with me Kuba, Jakub, Hava, who's our lead software engineer for the feature store. He's also a H2O veteran, many years, almost 7 years, right?
Almost 8.
Almost 8, there you go, perfect. So long-term veteran at H2O. So let's get started. So a year ago, I think it was like last October at the AT&T Business Summit, Mark, Prince, Sri, and myself, we went up on stage and announced the partnership. We said we are launching the H2O feature store. And we come a long way now, right? So this is part of also we want to introduce the feature store for folks who haven't heard of it before, but also talk about what have we done in the last 12 months, right? So to begin with, so we did a survey. We asked people, right, okay, what are the biggest problems? Like, what do data scientists spend most of the time doing? And what do you find out, right? And to the surprise of nobody, most data scientists spend 80% of the time either preparing data or cleaning data or collecting the right data, figuring out what the right data set is for use. And the model building part and the other algorithm part, this is all important, which we do a great job of, but that's only like 20%, right? So this is the biggest chunk of problem that we need to solve. And earlier today, during the panel, you guys talked about this, during the 18th panel, but also Andy touched upon it, right? How do you get access to the right kind of data if you are solving a critical business problem? So the goal of the H2O feature store is to optimize the feature engineering and the model building process, right? Bring the information across the different parts of the organization. You have data sitting in different silos. How do you bring it all together in a way that it is consistent, it is transparent, people have access to the right kind of data at the right amount of time, make sure that all the governance policies are taken care of. So when you request data, we check that you are eligible to get access to the data and still have it. And once you do that, what it does is it ensures that you can suddenly have tremendous efficiency. So you can have optimized your workflows. You can have data scientists access to data that they need at the fingertips, and they can start building better models. Provide security, provide governance across the enterprise workflow. And more importantly, start building more accurate and better models, which can lead to better business outcomes, which is what this is all about, right? And finally, leads to the water cooler effect, like we talk about, right? Create an environment of collaboration where users can come together, data scientists can come together and share the data. So in a nutshell, what the H2O feature store does is basically bring your data from wherever it is, right? We have all kinds of connectors from all the common data warehouses, data sources, bring them to the platform, and then you can do feature engineering transformation. You can have features like recommendation, feature rank. We can monitor the data as well. And more importantly, serve this up in either batch, online, or streaming mode. So data scientists can consume features. Data engineers can push their features, data into the pipelines into the feature store. And then business analysts can start consuming it too, using their BI tool or dashboards. So from a high-level perspective, what are the key concepts, right? We want to think about the projects, how features are created, how are they shared, the workspace where you work as a department or a use case is brought together. The feature set is a collection of features, which is managed, again, by role-based access control. This is versioned. It is accessible from online and offline store. And then the feature itself, the smallest entity, right? This is the actual data, the signal that is being used in your models. And then finally, we have this concept of ML dataset, which is a new one, and I'll let Kuba talk about that, but it allows you to bring multiple feature sets together. And Prince also is going to talk about what they've been doing at AT&T. All right? So with those concepts, let's jump into what's new. So we are co-development partners. AT&T and H2O have been jointly building this together. That means that we also have the opportunity to build a lot of cool stuff. So I want to let Prince talk about what all the new stuff they built.
Obviously. I mean, I still remember that every day they stand up. Chris is here and team members are here from Feature Store Development from AT&T. Mm-hmm. And they and Cuba, you guys do daily stand-ups in order to build some awesome collaboration. I mean, this must be one of our biggest and successful collaborations across the organizations and doing something incredible AI product in industry.
Actually, right? 4 months, my 10 p.m. in the evening.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, you're not here anymore.
Yeah,
you're not in Europe.
Kuba is from Europe for those folks who don't know, right? So yes. We worked at those teams in India, teams in US, teams in Europe, all together working with them.
It's not coast to coast, country to country across the world. It's a great collaboration in terms of doing the development, right? Yep. It's beautiful. So let me talk about what we are doing, in AT&T, the new things. In the morning we mentioned about, we have been working on the feature store. In fact, we launched in April this year. So there's a lot of features there sitting in our feature stores. There's more than 25,000 features, and across 30 business units in AT&T, we are using the feature store now. We are looking at the reusability, and we are looking at the collaboration, and how fast we can take a model, even in the initial version of the model that we do. And it's kind of well integrated with an ecosystem. But the question comes to always when you have 25,000 features in feature store, somebody comes with an intent, right? I mean, Mark Austin, my boss, he always says that job to be done, right? So people always come to feature store with an intent. Like, I even heard that Prashant was talking about people go to Amazon and search for the things to buy, right? But similar fashion, if you come to the feature store, you comes with an intent saying that, hey, I'm going to predict fraud. Hey, I'm going to predict the churn. So when you look at those things, the search or discoverability is very important. Okay, you want to bring the relevant features when the user is searching on something. So that's something that we are bringing it in AT&T, and of course it will be available through our H2O, and bringing that discovery experience in a guided fashion, powered by an ontology. And we understand the grammar around this, features. We understand the ingredients and the recipes, how this all link together when somebody's searching on it, how quickly they can get it, right? So that's the one, experience that we are bringing in Feature Store as a new product capability. Yep. And that's kind of leading into the next one. It's not just search, right? And after the search, you are shopping it, right? In other words, like I got the features from one BU, right? And I now looking at the other feature set from another team, okay? Now I want to join these two feature sets to derive some feature sets, and probably I just going to use that for prediction, right? So this shopping experience also very important. So now we are bringing a great GUI. I also remember that Andy was talking about in the morning when we talk about the AT&T journey. We want to democratize AI, right? We want to go to a point of drag and drop. The number of clicks we want to make this happen. So these are all the kind of a milestone that we are working on it, right? Yep. So bringing this shopping also a new capability to the feature store, it's another new development.
This is very powerful, right? Like you talked about how will data scientists consume, right? They need to be able to find the right kind of features across different use cases. For like you said, 25,000 features. That's a lot of features. How do you find it? You need to give the guided experience along with the ability to pick.
Exactly. I mean, and also when you run the governance, you also need to think about the feature swamp, right? I mean, you don't want to create a lot of features or duplications. You want to avoid the deduplication as well. So definitely bringing this, the ontology behind these features, it's helping in multiple other aspects. That feature store you just pointed out, the governance is also very important aspects when you are dealing with this feature. So it's really helping in that particular fashion.
That's amazing.
And the next thing is, touching towards, the citizen data scientist, right? You can see this particular diagram, the left-hand side. Of course, feature store is being the in-between joint development with H2O. But the professional data scientists, they can be in any pipeline, right? I mean, someone can be in a Databricks, someone can be in Snowflake, somebody can in just plain Jupyter, and somebody can be even driverless AI. It could be any pipeline because we are powering up all these integrations, right? And one being in any pipeline, a data scientist, and they can actually publish the features into Feature Store. In similar fashion, someone can be in another pipeline and they can consume it. It's very agnostic in terms of the pipeline, right? But not only that, if you see it in the bottom side, we are also enabling these all features through API, right? So somebody who wants to query these features in online fashion, we got an API there, right? So you query the features, you get the value out of it in real time. And similarly, the CLIs, like Kuba and team developed the CLIs. So that is also, you can be, again, in any pipeline and you can query the feature store. Now let's talk about the right-hand side. That's where the beauty comes, the kind of an innovation that what we do with our feature store. Democratization, right? There are multiple personas in the company, right? Not necessarily a professional data scientist. You have an SQL savvy, you have business analyst, data analyst, your citizen developers, citizen data scientists, you call them all, but they are the one who is actually taking a critical business decisions. So how can we give them this awesome, valuable machine learning assets in their hands? Right? So we are now enabling it through Power BI. People can look at the same features, the risk scores associated with their model, and all those sort of things, and they can slice and dice and create a visuals and insert it wherever they want to. And we have even Power virtual agents like a chatbot. Right? Because this API is enabled, somebody can interact with the feature store even in a chatbot manner. Somebody want to ask a question about a particular risk or about one particular model, or looking for any particular features, they can just query the feature store through the chatbot. Right? And simple SQL analytics as well. So only the SQL, no problem. All the valuable assets that data scientists create, the other side of it, it is available to them now. They can now understand, because the feature store also has very strong metadata. There are more than 50 metadata has been collected for each and every features that's sitting in the feature store. Yep. That helps even an SQL person to understand what does this feature mean, so let me go and query it. You know what I mean? So these are all the cool features that's coming out, part of our collaboration with AT&T.
That's amazing. Thank you, Prince. And now let me bring in Kuba, who's the H2O lead for Feature Store.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go.
Very interesting. AT&T organization as a whole, this humongous organization, to bring something like this, Feature Store. I just wonder, how do you collaborate with the different kind of business teams to have them agree on what's this feature, the definition of the feature, what we need to, how do you collect those metadata for each feature? Okay. This is, I have totally trust on the technology part of it, but this is the organization part.
Right. Absolutely. So, by the way, let me repeat the question what you said, because, okay, so you asked technology is awesome, what we are doing here, but actually how you are actually mapping, you're bringing multiple business units in the organization, how are you actually bringing them all in one place and make this happen?
Different line of business have different taxonomies.
Right. Okay. So I'll tell you, I'm from Chief Data Office. Okay. So in AT&T, Chief Data Office, the way it operated, it's kind of an horizontal. We work with the different BU, right? So we work with our GFMO fraud organization. We work with supply chain organization. We work with the field ops organization. We work with the multiple business organization in horizontal fashion. Okay. When we stand in the, in that sort of, it's our job also to provide them the target tools and technology. Okay, and we have Marcus and team leads that in AT&T, where we also run the Citizen Data Science Forum. Okay, it happens bi-weekly. I think in the morning we mentioned over there during our conversation. So we bring thousands of people, and even we run the survey during those forum and the discussions that what we do with them. And when we demonstrate this functionality, they give a lot of feedback. So it's not just we building a software and pushing to the BU users to use it. It's more like when we call them, they tell us who they are and what they want. Okay, so when we know them very well, it's our jobs make it very easier to actually give all these valuable assets to them, right? So definitely the people, the process, then technology. That's the only way that we can actually take this technology and give it to the people's hands. And it's a great journey. Like I said, it's not going to happen just in months, but it's a years of journey. But definitely the feature store is the one for us is enabling to reach that sort of end goal.
Hello. It's hard to continue after such a big names. So I'm a lead software engineer of H2O Feature Store. We are doing mostly the offline Feature Store part, and I'll be covering some new features which we introduced in Feature Store. This will be a little bit more from technical level, but I'll try to speak about it in an understandable way. So this is the derived feature sets which we actually introduced, and it was really great to see on Prince's slide that AT&T is heavily using those in production already. So I'm really excited that this is being used because we were excited about this feature. So let me just in some details introduce what this means. Usually in feature store, when you define a feature set, you define it just based on the schema. Let's say you define two features, A and B, or customer name and let's say salary, and you store data into that feature set. But usually you also want to somehow automatically transform the data set on the input and store data somewhere. Usually do that outside in some sort of ETL pipelines, but we wanted to bring this capability into feature store itself. So what we do is that let's say if you define derived feature set name B and you store 10 rows into feature set A, we automatically store those 10 rows into feature set B, but it is transformed by the transformation pipeline. And the transformation pipeline can be out of free supported. It can be Spark, it can be driverless AI Mojo, and it can be join operation, which joins two feature sets based on primary key. So that way, whenever you ingest data into your feature set, we always automatically fill the derived feature sets based on those transformed data. And it's great to see that it's in use. Another concept and feature which we released actually recently in version 1 month ago is a machine learning dataset or ML dataset. So what we realize is that using those derived feature sets are nice, but they are quite heavy. Usually data scientists, they work with data is that they usually want to take multiple features from multiple feature sets, combine those, maybe sample those data, apply some basic filters, and then create a data set on which they will run their machine learning models. Or they do some, they for example run they do machine learning models. So that's why we created this capability. So with this, you first create something called a feature view, which is something like SQL specification of your query. You define your features from different feature sets, your transformations. And then based on this query, you can materialize your machine learning data set. The good thing about this is that the machine learning data set is fixed. It's stable, it will not change over time. Even if you ingest new data into your feature set, this will still be fixed. So it's really deterministic. It's good that when you, for example, run experiment in driverless AI, you can be sure that this experiment will lead to same results as long as the model itself is reproducible, because you can be sure that the data are reproducible and deterministic. Additionally, what is really nice about this is that without any additional user input, you also, when you materialize the data into machine learning data set, automatically you can obtain the data transformed by the feature view query from online feature store, which is perfect because then you don't need to specify any additional transformations, and you also get in real time the transformed data from online. Online is, I didn't introduce it, so very, very briefly, online feature store is the one where you store the data and you really want the data get quickly based on, for example, primary key or some keys. You want to get data quickly in terms of milliseconds. So those were the two biggest features, and we have a little bit bunch more. We introduced the ingest scheduling. What that means is that usually you just don't want to store data manually one time into your feature set. You want to schedule those ingestions. So let's say you have a data in your Snowflake table or in your S3 or Azure data store. You just set up a schedule, and the feature store will take care of that. You don't need any external services to do that for you with new feature store version. Additionally to that, we also introduced a concept named lazy ingestion. We realized that enabling feature store for users can be quite heavy. You need to transform a lot of data to feature store to make use of all those concepts like versions and so on. So what we did is that you register yourself a normal feature set, and you mark some specific data source for lazy ingestion to that feature set. And whenever you first use that feature set, when you obtain data, for example, from driverless AI or MLOps or in your Spark application, those data are being materialized when you actually need those. So that way, we don't need to materialize all the data at the very same time at the beginning of your, when you start using feature store, but it's done lazily when you actually need those data. And last two features which I'll cover is automatic data backfill. So what that means is that on feature set we have a concept of versions. Usually you create a new feature set version when your schema of the feature set changed. Let's say you introduced a new feature or you removed a feature in that new version. So that is fine. But you also want to somehow transform your data from previous version to the new version and somehow backfill the data since you can introduce a new feature. And usually people need to do that themselves in their Spark or PyData in Pandas or some tool where they can do the backfill. With this version, we automatically backfill the new features with some default values. So this is for 99% use cases really sufficient, but what you can also use advanced users, if you, for example, have advanced backfill operation where you want to backfill data based on aggregation pipelines, you can provide yourself a Spark pipeline which will do the backfill for you. And the last new feature which we introduced is the feature recommendation and classifiers. And what that's used for is that you in Feature Store defined a label or classifier, then classifier is defined either based on regular expression or based on sample data. And what that means, the classifier, for example, stands for zip code or telephone number or social security number. And whenever you and you also define, let's say, percentage, like criteria, how many data needs to match this criteria, let's say 90%. And when you ingest data into feature set anytime, we try to apply those classifiers on every feature in your feature set. And if there is a match, this 90% match, it's specifiable by you, we automatically tag the database on this classifier. So this is really amazing because Feature Store is no longer a simple tool storing data, but it's starting to be an intelligent tool which automatically can extract some information from your data. And on top of that, then you can, for example, you can list all the feature sets which share the same classifier. So you can augment those classifiers based on, for example, zip code. So that's the new features. We have also some few things on the roadmap, which I really briefly cover. We want to integrate with our H2O.ai cloud a little bit more. Right now, Feature Store is a little bit standalone tool, but we want to enable really seamless usage of people. When they use for H2O Cloud, we want people go to Feature Store, find their features, then let's say push the data into driverless AI from Feature Store, then go to MLOps, and also vice versa. If you have a model deployed in our machine learning operations, MLOps, you would like to also sometimes see from which data you train that model and which actually is in the production. So you will be able to trace it back in our cloud. Also, we also want to keep Feature Store extendable by external tools. Next new feature is the Feature Store to be used as a data catalog. So what we would like to do is we would like to, for example, automatically scan all tables in your Snowflake database and register all those tables as a feature set drafts. They won't be materialized, they won't be backed by any data. And you, as a data scientist or data engineer, will be able to click and promote those feature sets, those draft feature sets into regular feature sets. So that way, feature set will start combining like data catalog features with Feature Store features, capabilities. And last but not least, there is much more things going on, is the data quality checks. So what we want to improve is the actually checks when you store data into the Feature Store. We want to make sure that the data you are storing, they make sense. We also want to automatically check for some outliers, and we also want to make sure that we don't just let you know that there are outliers, but we want to enable you to take some actions on top of that, such as revert those specific rows which are the outliers. So that's what's coming soon. And very last slide from my side, I just wanted to say huge thanks to all those people from our team, because without those people it wouldn't really be possible. And not only H2O team, a huge thanks also to AT&T, because this has been done with collaboration with AT&T, which led to Atlantis Feature Store, and we wouldn't be here without this collaboration. So thanks again. I'll keep this slide there for you, and I'll give you word back.
Yeah,
I think there's a question. Let's go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you.
Wait for it.
I'm really excited about the Feature Store area. So this is one of the problems that I face, and I know the pain of data discovery and feature discovery process in this whole machine learning. So one more advantage I see from this Feature Store is, so even after this long feature discovery process, because mainly these models are based on correlation-based machine learning, after production, those relationships might change and the performance of the models gets decreased as expected.
Right.
So being this, having this feature storage, and you have the lineage of all the different features, do you see some kind of causal implementation in the machine learning methods, or are there any components to this feature store idea, or like any other initiatives in this direction?
In current version that what we have, like Kuba explained, it's kind of very well getting integrated part of the H2O product family, the ML ops. That's where things get deployed. And AT&T, we kind of use best of the breeds technology and tools there. And of course, we talked about the AI Watchtower. That's something, the monitoring platform in the morning, if you heard about it, right? So that's something doing it right now. So it's understanding this model lineage, and it learns about each and every features. It is, let's take one particular variable, right? I mean, it's not just going with some static threshold concepts. When it's breaching, then I want to alert my data scientist or engineer. It's more than that. There is some models running even to learn about each and every features and what is the value that feature can produce, even though during the morning time where your retail shop is closed, during the daytime, it's learning all those things. So that's pretty much AI check on AI, or AI Watchtower we call it. So it is monitoring throughout the life cycle of these particular features, not necessarily when the data scientist is developing those features, even after it get deployed, to understand this feature drifting and all those sort of good things. Because right from the day one, when it is ingested into the feature store, as long as the feature is living in the feature store and it's used for the inference time, it's been monitored. So that's why we are able to do that.
Yeah, and just to add to that, right, I think what you said is important. We have the building blocks for doing the traceability all through the ingestion pipeline, right? So let's say a score drifted. You can go back and see what is the model that drifted. Then ask what data set was used to train this data. Then ask what are the raw sources that are feeding this feature set. And you can go all the way to the final source and say, okay, this raw source maybe drifted, that affected the pipeline, which in turn affected the feature set, right? So you have all the building blocks for doing the traceability, and hopefully we can put it all together into a nice interface that you can then go back and double click, kind of similar to what Prince suggested.
Right.
I'll speak up. How do you handle the idea that you'll have, I guess he's making the effort. So
yeah.
How do you handle the idea that depending on the industry or the company, you're going to have features that are at different points in a funnel or in the customer life cycle, whether it be in the marketing phase or post a loan and you're in the loan servicing phase? So how does the feature store work for different types of data sets and mini catalogs inside of there? And then the second question I had is for smaller companies, how do you maintain that, and who owns that? Because we've heard from a few people today that have data scientist teams of 3, 5, and it seems like it's a really big effort to build, manage, maintain, and keep an eye on all of that.
Maybe I'll take the first one.
Why don't you go first? Yeah.
The second one is for you. Okay, see, that's why, you saw some of the new things that what we are releasing part of the, feature store, right? Just let's go one step back, right? Without a feature store, just imagine the data scientist, they might have their features in their laptop. Somebody put their features in some database. Somebody keeps the features in cloud. It is not uniform way people are keeping those features. But if somebody's asked you to reproduce your model, you have to always go and trace yourself. Where is the data? Where is those features? And things like that. So the first of all, feature store is really doing a great job in a way that you keep all those features in one place and use it during the development and the deployment, the scoring time, right? And that's why you see the last 7 we presented, we are now enabling these integrations. Okay, so marketing analytics, if you think about it, probably feature store API could be the right one. You can insert into the e-commerce page or retail page, whatever you have. There you can just enable the API, and a single click of an API or the call to API, you should be able to score the model and get the response back within milliseconds, right? So that we can do it. But the same, think about it, step back and think about the data scientists in the same marketing team. They want to use the feature store. They can get into any one of the pipeline and they can really use the CLIs that feature store provides and then they can actually train model or retrain their model and things like that. So there is an options. You want to do a batch scoring or near real time or real time. Definitely, this integration technology is enabling for us to address the various audience.
And I'm going to take the next question offline because I've been told that we are out of time. But I also want to show really quickly the feature store.
But I would say you should answer the feature store will be always.
Yeah. Well, just to quickly, right? So feature store, that's why we built it for smaller companies, right? It's like if you don't have the resources of AT&T, right? I mean, we built it so that any company can access it. Even if you're not a big company or if you're a small company, you're, let's say, a less mature data science organization, you can leapfrog. You can get all the benefits of feature store and you can start at any scale, right? Start with the data sets you already have, feature sets you already have, put those in. And feature store, I mean, if you're a big organization, you might have like data stewards, for example, to maintain and keep sanity and do like permissioning and stuff. But if you're a small organization, the technology does a lot for you. We are off the shelf. We give you permissioning. We have all the tools built in. Just start with that, and then as you keep growing, you can have more personas come into the picture who can do like some of the work for you.
The SaaS model is a great solution for that.
Exactly, it's a hosted solution. You can just start using it. It's completely managed and maintained by us. So I will just quickly let Kuba show the product since we talked about a lot of it, but maybe just for a glimpse of what does it really look like, right?
Yeah, this will be just 1 minute. I just want to show the AT&T, the UI, which is out there in half a minute. So I guess speakers can be preparing while I'm showing this. So you can see the projects here. I won't go over specific concepts because we are out of time, but you can see the project details. You can go to the feature set details. You see all those metadata which Prince was talking about. There is a huge amount of metadata which can be used. You can also see additional metadata on each feature. You can see the types, you can see the versions, you can see some monitoring flags, statistics, minimum, maxima, categorical statistics. You can see feature sets which I own, all the feature sets. You can see some dashboard statistics, and this is sadly empty, but you can also see the access. You have access control over your feature sets and projects. I can request, for example, access to one specific feature set. So if I go here, or I think here I can request access. Yeah, now I'm a little bit lost, but maybe here. Yeah. I just yeah. No. But
go request access.
Oh yeah, it's right here.
Information. Yeah, I can pick read or write, and then get access.
I can do it. Yeah. But this is really just super quick glimpse. I just wanted to show the UI very quickly, and
we'll be outside. If you have more questions, Prince, Kuba, myself, feel free to jump in. And I'll be happy to show more demo of the product, or if you need to follow up as well.
Yeah. I'll finish the flow. So I'll check and I can check the status, and I'll already see that my access request, I see that the request is pending, and the owner of that feature set needs to approve it in order for me to be able to continue using and retrieving and getting data from that feature set.
Okay. All right. Thank you.